This hearing of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee will come to order. Let me congratulate all the nominees before us today on your nominations. Let me welcome your family members and friends who are part of the sacrifice of serving. Whether in the Western Hemisphere or the Middle East, your service will come at a challenging time for the United States. We are facing growing instability and competition around the world. That's why our diplomatic engagement, our cooperation with allies and partners, our efforts to counter the coercive policies of authoritarian states, these are more critical than ever for U.S. national security. Now, despite this, we see House Republicans hurtling towards debt default. Their plan would not only undermine the United States' ability to compete with China, but by cutting funding for the State Department, USAID, and other agencies on the front lines, it would undermine our ability to protect and advance U.S. foreign policy. I hope today's nominees will not take this lack of commitment to advancing American interests on the part of those who view that as the appropriate path as a reflection of our committee's respect for the work that you do all over the world. Indeed, the posts today's nominees must fill are critical, and I want to thank each of you, and as I said, your families for your willingness to serve our country. Mr. Brown, Ecuador is experiencing a political turbulence that has implications for democracy and the Americans. President Lasso is as close a partner of the United States as you can get. President Biden received him at the White House in December. That same week, Congress passed my U.S.-Ecuador Partnership Act to deepen cooperation between our two countries. The United States must always stand with democratic leaders who share our values and work to improve the quality of life for their citizens. We need an ambassador that will work with President Lasso to confront organized crime and drug trafficking, to support his efforts to address climate change and protect Ecuador's environment for all of its citizens, and support our governments and our private sectors to work together to promote inclusive economic growth for both nations. And I look forward to hearing you on that. Ms. Siptak Ramnath, is that the correct pronunciation?
Siptak Ramnath.
Siptak yes. Ramnath, okay. If confirmed, you'll be taking over the U.S. Embassy in Lima, as the country has been rocked by protests that have left more than 50 people dead. In December, Peru raised a significant political crisis when former President Castillo resorted to unconstitutional measures in an illegal attempt to dissolve Peru's Congress. President Castillo was legally removed from office, but political tensions remain. I look forward to hearing from you about how the United States can best engage diplomatically in this context, and how you'll work to strengthen the principles shared by our countries, as well as address the mutual concerns of our citizens. Mr. Nice, the assignment to Bridgetown is incredibly important. You would not only serve as our representative to Barbados, but also as our ambassador to Antigua, Barbuda, Dominica, Grenada, St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Lucia, St. Vincent, and the Grenadines. But you only get one salary, just want you to know. At the time of growing geopolitical competition, it's incredibly important that we double down on our relationships with our closest democratic partners, including our neighbors in the Caribbean. We must continue to advance our relationship based on our shared values, economic ties, and the bonds between our people. I look forward to hearing about how the United States can further strengthen our relationship with the governments of Barbados and Prime Minister Mia Mottley, who is a global leader on climate change and the environment. This is an incredibly important assignment because of the breadth and scope, and each of those countries have a vote in some of our, as Senator Cantwell has pointed out to us on several times. Ms. Lempert, I'm proud and pleased to see you are the President's nominee to our ambassador to Jordan, a long-standing strategic U.S. partner in the region. As someone who has spent her entire public service career working on issues facing the Middle East for both Republican and Democratic administrations, whether it was your leadership as the key U.S. negotiator of the 10-year Memorandum of Understanding between the United States and Israel, securing the largest package of assistance in the history of our bilateral relationship, or your work to build on the historic Abraham Accords as the administration's point person on the negative framework, your experiences will serve you well in leading our embassy in Amman. I'm a lifelong advocate for a strong U.S.-Israel relationship, and I know you are as well. And I look forward to your leadership as we build even stronger relationships between Israel and her neighbors, including Jordan. In closing, I must note that there is one nominee not on this panel that I hope we can get to at some point. couple of our colleagues have consistently come up to me, and that's Ambassador Jean Mans for Colombia. She is a consummate diplomat professional. It's been nearly a year since our former ambassador departed Bogota. The U.S.-Colombia relationship is too important not to have a confirmed ambassador. I want to note that the committee has received letters of support for Ambassador Mans from the former Southcon commander, Craig Fowler, former Assistant Secretary Roger Noriega, former U.S. ambassadors to Colombia, Ann Patterson, William Brownfield, and Kevin Whitaker, and I'd ask unanimous consent that they be included in the record. Without objection, so moved. Hopefully we can get to her at some point. Senator Risch.